I want to talk about some parenting stuff here, and some of it gets pretty heavy, but I think these are good things for us to talk through. This is about teaching my kids emotional intelligence. I'm homeschooling my kids. I'm seeing the struggle with teaching my kids emotional intelligence. I know spiritual maturity and emotional maturity are kissing cousins, so to speak. Yeah, it's kind of a strange analogy, but emotional maturity and spiritual maturity go hand in hand. We've lived for a long time where spiritual maturity was, you know a lot in the Bible, you have a lot of experience sharing about the Bible, talking, doing those kind of things, and we neglected emotional maturity. We didn't apply that historically. It's like, Bible school, all these things. We attribute maturity with that. We need to get back to the fundamentals of that. Spiritual maturity is emotional maturity, the fruit of the Spirit that you know how to manifest and grow in, not that anyone's perfect and arrive, but to operate in love, joy, and peace. Know how to operate in self-control, to be patient with people, to practice kindness. Those are not the metrics that we always looked at. And I think that we need to prioritize that, because we look at, this person's a great speaker. They sing well. And we put very immature people into platforms. And then we wonder, oh my goodness, what's going on? This person had a falling out. This happened. And it's what we value. So anyways, I digress. Any resources would be amazing for younger readers. I know you don't make curriculum. Well, not necessarily. That's not necessarily true. What I do is I write books and then I create training materials on it in video. Because I'm a teacher, it helps me to expound on the material. So that's my curriculum. My books have prayers and questions in them. So I make my books already with some curriculum kind of things woven within them. Some people write the book and then they come out with a workbook later. So anyway, just to kind of let you know that. And I put that in my membership for people that want to make that kind of investment, where access to my course materials, and then you can jump in on the Zoom Q&As, and there's forum interaction as well too. So keep that in mind as an option, because there's many parents that are in there looking for equipping too. I think a lot of times we go, I need a book. And I don't know that there's a perfect book out there that I could recommend. You said many of the Boundaries books are more outward focused. I want to see them in their own behavior. Okay, so I want to make this very practical for you as a parent, because you as the parent are the most powerful teacher and most powerful influence in your children's lives. I'm going to tell you 2 things to help emotional intelligence in your children, okay? Actually 3. Can I give you 3? Number 1 is develop a healthy bond with your children. Because that's where all learning comes out of. First, the bond. You don't teach your children by teaching them, develop a bond with them. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is model emotional intelligence in your home. You and your husband model that in your life, of sitting at the dinner table and you all share, how was your day? How are things going? And model learning how to listen to someone else's emotion, learning how you respond to it. So your kids grow up seeing that. Way more is caught than taught, in the sense of them watching. They watch us. They watch how we handle stress. They watch how we handle conflict. So your kids seeing how you and your spouse handle conflict together, that they observe, mom and dad, they had disagreements or whatever, but they learned how to work it out. They learned how to resolve things. And it's modeled. When you have stress, and sometimes you get too upset or something, or you get into certain obsessive patterns, and they see you learning to work through it. So I see a lot of value in that right there. So we haven't even gotten to curriculum yet, and I actually won't get into that, because sometimes I think we overcomplicate things. I need a book, or we stick a book, in front of our kids, and that'll solve it. Okay, so the third thing. First was the bond. Second is modeling. Third, learn to have meaningful conversations. All families in your home, I want to encourage you, learn to have regular, either daily or just somewhat regular throughout the week, where you have times where you just talk. Let your kids talk about their day. Talk about how it made them feel. Start it as young as possible. Listen to them. Pay attention. Have times where you're not on your phones. No one's on their phones and you're just talking. Maybe around the couch, you're sitting on the couch, just hanging out, where it's not necessarily the TV on that becomes the like fill in to the interaction. The dinner table is one of the best places to do that, where it's a time of sharing and talking, where they learn to share their feelings and you help them walk through interpreting. Because emotional intelligence is, this is what I feel and this is what it means to me. And a lot of us in our mental health development, we need reinterpretation. We need help working through what we feel. Because somebody says, well, I was stressed and in this test I took and the teacher was kind of harsh. You know what? I never do anything right. It's like, okay, hey, let's talk through that. Is that really true? You might be putting some blame on yourself in this. Let's talk through this, right? Because we make these equations. And so emotional intelligence is I'm aware of what's going on in my emotional life, but I'm also, to use some of my OCD language, I'm also interpreting it, because it's the meaning we give our thoughts that's actually important. The meaning that we attach to where we are in our journey. If I was to step into anybody's life and their struggle, I will find where the interpreter is off. They're interpreting something off, so therefore it's adding extra anxiety, it's adding extra depression, it's adding extra confusion, it's actually adding extra disconnect, a sense of disconnect in their journey. And so having times where they're able to name, I'm feeling this, and they can talk through it. They get some encouragement, and they learn to process emotions. To process an emotion is you're able to name what it is, what it means, address some goofy filters that you may have and how you're interpreting it, and letting that kind of wash through your body, where we're not feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. We're letting it work through, knowing that we're safe. And that compass gets developed at a young age. So you actually are the emotional intelligence curriculum in your home. Now, would it help to have a book that says what these emotions look like? Yeah, you could get a color wheel and emotions. You could put emotions up on your whiteboard, and each week just kind of go through a different emotion and ask your kids, okay, this week it's anger. What are some other words you use with angry? Frustrated, right? Or whatever. Stress, pressure creates a sense of anger. What do you do with anger in your life? What do you do when you feel that? What's a good way to work through that? Right there, boom, I just gave you your classes to teach them that for the rest of the year. And then just get a dictionary out or get a emotion wheel and put the different emotions up there. And let it be a place of discussion. And at the dinner table, go, hey, so we were talking today about anger. So what are some of the things that make you angry? What makes you angry? And then you can find out like the themes in your household of certain themes that are triggers of anger. Because if you learn about somebody's anger, you actually learn a lot about who they are. And it'll help you get to the heart of what your kids battle and struggle with. What stresses you out? What gives you stress? And your kid's like, well, when I have a test coming up, oh, all right, let's talk about that. Now that's normal. It's normal to have some stress around those things, right? We're not taking every stressor away from our kids' lives, right? We're preparing them for adulthood. However, we can take the unnecessary added stresses. So I pray that will be a blessing and a help for you.